Hello everybody, it is Curiosity, your Digimon player and VTuber streamer. How's it going? We finally have it officially. We have our Carta Magica August Niagara Regional. This happened this weekend. We finally got our top 16 deck list, so we're going to go through it today and kind of see what happened this weekend. It was a blast to be there and kind of see everybody and meet a bunch of people, and it was a great time, and playing in the side events was a lot of fun too. We did have 322 players and it was packed. The venue was full. It was, both sides were full. It was crazy. The room was huge, and it was so cool to see everybody playing and like chit-chatting about logistics, what they expected was going to happen, what they predicted, and just kind of seeing and getting to know all these people from all over North America was amazing. So our archetype set did exist, of course. I don't think it's any surprise. We do see Imperial Dramon just everywhere with the blue-green version. We also see two ancient Garurus. Now, this was interesting because we'll go into them pretty soon, but these are blue-based. So a lot of times we think it's going to be like the red baseline, but this one was the blue-based, which is pretty cool. We also had two Magnamon X's. This one I was surprised on. I definitely thought there would be a lot more Magnamon X's topping, considering how many people were so worried about that Magnamon X. But it looks like Imperials were just able to kind of manage around and work around that. We also see one Dex Doro, which is so exciting to see that there is some variety here. We also have a yellow Vacine in the top. So even after the ban list, it seems that yellow Vacine is still being played. And of course, we have probably one of the other most surprising things here is an Omnimon top. So super cool to see, and we're just going to kind of go through a couple of these just to kind of see what we're looking at, what's different, what's kind of the plan here. So obviously we're going to go through our first place Imperial Dramon deck. Of course, it is running a lot of the searchers. I feel like with this deck, you need to see your pieces very fast to be able to DNA as quick as you can, and having those Vmons and Wormons that help you search are crucial in this base. We also see the promo Vmon here that allows you to Digivolve a Digimon for the reduced Digievolution cost. This is really great for not only grabbing pieces, but for quickly Digivolving into those pieces. So super useful to have. And the other one that I actually really like that is sitting in this deck is the green-purple Wormon. Me as a player, when I know I'm facing an Imperial Dramon deck, I'm going to do whatever I can to remove one of their level 4s off the field. And whichever level 4 color I choose, that is the one I'm staying with. So if I am eliminating a lot of the blue level 4s, I'm going to try to get those into their trash as much as possible in order to prevent them from being able to DNA Digivolve as frequently as they can. But with this Wormon being in the deck, it makes that a lot more of a challenge because I could keep removing it, but there is a way for them to cycle it back. So this Wormon is always very interesting to me that it is sitting in this deck, and I do think it is a good card to have in a Imperial Dramon deck. Of course, you're having your level 4 lineups between your Stingmons and your XVmons. It looks like they're running a full-on the gaining memory off of the Stingmon and or the XVmon, of course, and then getting that jamming and piercing from the Stingmon and the XVmon. This is one of those things that once they DNA into Imperial Dramon, they have such an advantage by suspending a Digimon and then swinging into it with piercing and jamming on top of that. There's a lot of challenges for an opponent to kind of protect from those and prevent that security from getting checked. So very useful on the level 4s for sure. And then of course having the extra XVmon that gives jamming only, and the Stingmon that is when you DNA when you draw one from attacking. So that's also a really good one to have, but definitely running 4 and 4 of the other two that gain you memory is super, super crucial. What's really cool is they have, of course, the ST6 Imperial Dramon. They have 4 of the BT16, which we know has the partition, both the inheritable and the effect of itself, which is really useful. Having that partition allows them to split up their level 4s again and just kind of cycle into another DNA. It really kind of stops that removal from themselves, and they can kind of DNA back in. And they're also running the BT12 Imperial Dramon as well. So it's a good package to have, which this one, of course, has the end of attack, and you can gain a memory off of it on that BT12 version. So super, super interesting. What I've also found interesting about this is they're only running one level 7 ace. So I'm wondering if this was because they just couldn't fit a second one in, or if they just really felt like they only needed one, which is sometimes likely too, that they just felt really confident with it, which is cool. For Tamers, 2 memory setter Davises, very good. Having those setters up is a great way to work it through. And then, of course, having the Davis and Ken. This Tamer is so good for this deck because it allows you to play out the Vmon and the Wormmon for free. No caveats to that besides if they don't end up getting their DNA, then it gets returned to hand at the end of the opponent's turn. However, most of the time, once they get those out, they can easily go into XV and Stigmon and DNA, thus preventing that second half of the Davis and Ken to go off. I also found it interesting that they are running 5 eggs, but they're split between the Jamming and Draw 1 Demi V, as well as the original Demi V, which is the Draw 1. So you can see here that they're really maximizing their searching ability by getting all of these draws off of the different cards that they're using. So very well done. Congratulations, first place. Well done. The other thing we have in our, of course, surrounded by these Imperial Dramons that we are facing here, is our Ancient Garuru deck. This one is awesome because we can see that they are still utilizing, even after the restrictions, they are still utilizing this Ukomon engine. They are running 4 of the Searcher Ukomon and only 1 of the restricted one, of course. And the other thing is I noticed they are running a couple of other restricted cards. So they're running, of course, 1 Hammer Spark, 1 Ice Wall, and 1 Louis. So I'm curious to see what their deck build actually looked like before these restrictions. And kind of what changes they may have made. I could see them kind of, bringing up their Kojis. It looks like they have 4 and 4 here. They have an Analog Youth hiding in here too. They also have a Jet Selfie-Mon, which is interesting as well. So it's cool to see that they have that kind of option in there too. And yeah, this managed to bypass a bunch of Imperial Dramons. So great for them and congratulations to them. And it is a blue-based setup here. So also very interesting to kind of take a look at with the amount of power that this deck actually has. It's very good. And next, of course, we have our Dex Doro deck, thanks to our YouTuber Ben, which is amazing. So this was awesome to see that Ben actually topped. So awesome, and congrats. What is very interesting here, I didn't know. I actually, I played against a couple of Dex Doro decks, and some of them mostly purple based. So I was actually expecting a purple based Dex Doro deck. I know that black based did exist, but looking at it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, this actually makes a lot of sense. Having a black based Dex Doro deck allows you to get the Mega Gargomon Ace, which is such a weird combination when you think about it, because obviously if we're thinking like in themes and stuff, Mega Gargomon inside a Dex Doro deck, strange, right? But the Ace really slows down those Imperial decks by a lot because they can't suspend, or they can't unsuspend. They get suspended and they can't unsuspend, which really stops your Imperial decks from essentially unsuspending and swinging again on you, which is so cool to see. So it's very interesting to keep the black base here to really open up that ace play for later on, especially for later game abilities there. The other thing that, of course, I kind of half expected to see, of course, is the Ruin mode. We see it again here. Purple players, yellow players will often have a Ruin mode in the deck, giving that negative 5,000 blanket effect. It is so useful to have, so good to work with and kind of go from there. It is nice to also see the X antibody protoform sitting in here because some of these do have X antibody traits. You can benefit by reducing the Digievolution cost and going into some pretty cool Digimon later on. and working through that. And of course, also getting them back later on, right? Being able to kind of grab them back if they are to be removed from the field is also really good. Calling from Darkness, definitely, if you take a look at the deck, you can see that there are a lot of purple cards. So you are going to be really easily grabbing back the cards that you need from Calling from Darkness. As well, this also triggers without having to have any Digimon on the field because all effects will resolve, which is so useful for grabbing things when you're in a pinch. Having the defense trainings over the wisdom trainings, I also think is really good for this style of deck. If you kind of look at the layout, you're going to see that there are a lot of solid black cards in here, as well as the 2 colored black cards. So you are really optimizing over the defense training by having it here, even for your tamers as well. I think Edgy is the only one that's not a black tamer, so you're going to have that advantage there by being able to grab pretty much everything in the deck that you need, except for your option cards, your 2 option cards that are over here. So very, very cool. And congrats again to Ben. This was so awesome to see. So, and of course, surprising that although the restrictions have come out, we do still see a yellow Vacine deck sitting in the top, which is so cool, but also interesting that it's still here even with those restrictions. So we do know that the TK security TK did get limited to 1, and we can see here that they're really just using the 1 and they're using 3 memory setter TKs. So it is interesting to have that reduced cost there from the TK that allows you, basically you put in you trash your security, or you take your security, then filter a Vacine one in, and then you can suspend it to gain a memory, thus essentially getting this TK instead of for 3 cost, you're effectively getting it for 2. So very, very interesting to see that even with the restrictions, it did not stop this yellow Vacine player at all. We can see that we are running the Tokomons and 1 Neuromon. So we are running 5 eggs here. Our Patamons that didn't get restricted are still, in fact, here at 4, really giving this deck a big edge on being able to digivolve into several options of level 4 Vacines. Paired with that TK, it really sets up your security nicely. We can also see that they are running 4 Pillowmons here to try to prevent people from playing out Digimon by effects. It does affect both sides, but I don't think Yellow Vacine necessarily has issue with it. We can also see, which is new now, the Patamons, the promo ones that allow you to grab a 2-colored yellow card, or yellow or black card from security. So we can see in this upper end of level 4s, level 5s, and even level 6s mostly, there are most yellow 2-colored cards. So the chances of you being able to grab stuff is very likely from the promo Patamon. We could also see that we are running the Barrier Gatos, which are useful to just kind of swing, and if you need to activate Barrier, you can. As well as Rapidmons for the Armor Purge and blockers. Can really slow your opponent down. And of course, we have our aces running at 4. Our Angelmon aces really kind of cycling that if you're at 3 security and working through to kind of slow your opponent down and just keep cycling and recovering. And of course, we have the Magnamon aces, which allow you to DP reduce your opponent, whatever Digimon you want, for that much DP, up to, I believe it's up to 6,000, because I think it's if you have 5 or fewer, you can add a security, thus making it only up to 6,000 DP reduction. Valkyrie Ace, what can I say? It does what it needs to do. It is a great card, both on your opponent's turn and on your own turn. It's interesting to see the Edamon. I don't think I've seen a yellow Vacine that runs it, so this is a new for me. Very interesting choice, but very useful. There was also an Edamon player that was playing in the regional that was actually doing really well for a while, so it's cool to kind of see it also in a yellow Vacine deck. And yep, of course, we are running the Magnamons. We are here for them. They will be everywhere where they can be, giving kind of this full-on, if you have an armor form in your inheritables, in your Digimon line, you get to basically, once a security is revealed, you are unaffected by your opponent's effects. And even Yellow Vacine is in fact running the Shine Gray Rune mode. Like I said, blanket effect, so useful. So it's interesting to see how we've kind of increased some of these cards up to 4 to kind of accommodate that TK being down to 1 now. So very awesome. And again, congrats. So cool. And I think the kind of last 2, we're going down our list here. In 10th place, we finally see our first official Magnamon X. There are a few Imperial Dramons that are running Magnamon X in here. But we officially see our first Magnamon X in 10th place here, with a lovely Vmon line sitting here, which is awesome. So we could see the Demi Vs being run to kind of give it plus 1000 DP, with our, of course, Searchers and so on Vmons, Flame Dramons, Magnamons galore here. Running 4 of the security Magnamons is so great, because if they are in security, they do in fact de-digivolve something on the field. So good if they're in security. And of course, it has its own one digivolving effect. Then of course, we have our Magnamons with Armor Purge, which is nice to see. And this is of course our BT, brain has to think, our BT8, and of course our BT13 one. We also see one Zudomon ace. This is awesome to kind of get us having an extra ace in there in case people are kind of swinging early. We can Zudomon ace in and then get into our Magnamon X antibody earlier. And then, of course, what's also cool that you see in this deck is you can actually see the burst mode ace, the level 7 at 1 in here. This is also a very cool card. By dropping a Tamer, you can reduce your opponent by 5,000 for each Tamer on your field. So this is kind of one of those cards that was designed for Shine Greymon, but we can see is being used in these other types of decks to really limit your opponent. And of course, we are running the Paladin Ace modes as well. There's 2 in this, and it really kind of continues off of your Magnamon if you need to kind of blast in and go from there. Blinding Ray, I think with a Magnamon deck, this is also a useful card, because for a cost of 0, you can trash a security and thus get your Magnamon back into its protective state, which is usually where you want it to be as long as it can. And we can see some interesting option cards now with Awakening of the Golden Knight limited to 1. Heaven's Judgment is in here because, let's be real, how many colors can you actually get with Heaven's Judgment? It is very useful in this deck. We could see that we are running 4 of the Davis, 1 Shu Yulin, and 1 of the Memory Setter Davis. Pretty good there, but I can see that the Shine Burst is probably one of those cards that is added in to kind of counter the Awakening of the Golden Knight in its own way. So well done for our Magna X player. And then finally, the last one I want to go through today is our Omnimon player. This is actually someone from one of my locals, which is crazy. So congrats. And it was so cool to like kind of see everybody like so excited for them and having a grand old time. They were an Omnimon, which is so cool because I wasn't expecting to see Omnimon in the top. So very, very, very awesome that it did get a chance to be in the top here. Of course, you're running your Agumons and Gabumons galore, which is super great to see. And running 3 of the Melgas. So this is interesting here. Metal Garurumon here. This was kind of the trump card of the Melga decks back when we went to Nats last year. And seeing this kind of in this Omnimon deck is so useful because you can warp into it and you can start to suspend things and not let things suspend on their turn. So it really slows your opponent down if you get this Metal Garu out. If, let's say, you're in a pinch and you want to get it out, it is so cool to see that this really stops that Imperial matchup because then they can't suspend for their turn and it really slows the Imperials down. So really awesome to see and kind of hear that something of an Omnimon deck was able to shine. So it'll be interesting to see where the Omnimon lineups start to go from here and kind of move forward. And that's kind of everything here. We've seen a lot of Imperial Dramon players coming up, and it'll be interesting to see that more so how they're going to kind of be either maybe slowed down or put into a check with the new support coming out when EX7 drops. Especially with that Shoto giving more Mother D Reaper support. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with Imperial for our next set and how that will look. So I am very excited for it. I think that it will be so interesting to see how maybe if the top list changes between now and the next regional event that we have. But yeah, I think it was a lot of fun to be there in person. Nothing beats in-person tournaments. And I really hope that Carta Magica and everyone that was there is able to host another one sometime soon. All the judges were amazing. They worked so hard to make sure that everything went as smoothly as possible. The organizers of the tournament were phenomenal. And I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to be kind of supporting and running Digimon this time around. So thank you so much to Carta Magica. Thank you for the judges who volunteered your time to watch us all play and deal with the 1,000 questions that were being asked. Thank you for those hosting the 3v3 as well from Carta Magica, because I know we had two separate kind of events going on. But it was an absolute blast. And of course, to our top 16 players, congrats to all of you. And I know there's a handful of you that are Canadian. So as a Canadian, thank you for representing us in this and showing that even we as Canadians can get pretty far into some tournaments too. And with that, I will see you all at the next stream. So thanks for joining me on this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you have any other ideas or any thoughts on the top 16. Maybe were you predicting something else to top? Were you expecting this kind of turnout? But either way, let me know in the comments. And hopefully I will see you at the next regional or at the next YouTube video and or stream. So have a fantastic day, everybody. Bye.